Today's masterclass, as you can see, social selling workshop, how to use LinkedIn and AI to grow your business. Now, today's session is predominantly focusing on business owners. However, if you are working in sales or you're a marketer, whatever it is that you're doing, the content that I'm going to be sharing with you, if you're looking to use LinkedIn as the platform, will help you. And the information that I have gathered for today's session, I add this number up every single time. So this number increases every single workshop that I run because I typically will speak to businesses afterwards. And over the last 4.5 years, me personally have spoken to over 1,800 different businesses. And what I do is carry out insight and analysis calls. And what I'm looking to figure out is what's working in people's businesses, what isn't working. And when it comes to social media, identify the reasons why people are struggling. And I'm not someone that can teach you how to get millions of impressions. I'm not someone that can teach you how to go viral. Whenever it happens to me, it's typically accidental. But what we do specialize in is helping people generate revenue from these platforms. And whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's any of the other socials that we use, we share our expertise. We test every tactic there is out there. And what I have noticed after all of those conversations is the fact that there are a number of key reasons, 5 in fact, that come up time and time again that people are struggling with. And normally one of these 5 resonates with you more than the rest. And in today's session, I'm going to be covering them all anyway. But I asked this at the beginning purely because if there are one of the reasons over another that are really, really like repeat and come up more often than not, I will focus more time and attention on them. So as I bring these reasons up, what I want you to have a think about is which one of the 5 is the thing that's probably holding you back right now. And the first one, when it comes to social platforms like LinkedIn, is the fact that when you're using them, you understand who your target market is, but whether it's posting content and getting 0 engagement, whether it's sending messages and getting no responses, whatever the reason is on the platform, you cannot get your ideal target market responding. That's something that we hear very, very frequently. And a lot of the content today that I'm going to be focusing on is the psychology and strategy behind how you get that moving. So number 1 reason why people are struggling is because they can't get their target market responding. The second is they heard about this term inbound leads, and they believe that if they just post content, they should be generating an influx of inbound leads that they don't know what to do with. And the reality is that they've been doing it for a little while, but the valuable content they've been sharing is either not giving them the leads specifically, or the engagement levels are that low, they don't believe the right people are seeing it to even figure out if they need to inquire in the first place. So number 2 is posting, but not getting the inbound leads that they wanted. Something that we hear a lot. Number 3 is purely down to audience size. So your LinkedIn account just isn't big enough, and you need to understand how to grow it because you believe that the more people that know what you do, the more opportunity is going to come your way. A lot of people say to us that the reason it's not working, the reason why they're not seeing consistent sales is because they don't know how to build their audience fast enough. Number 4 is the one that we're most known for, actually, the one that we've been doing for a very, very long time now, helping people build these processes. But most people, and this is a majority, don't have a predictable and sustainable process with their LinkedIn approach that leads a stranger to a customer. And so a lot of their activity is based on number 5, actually. Like their strategy is based on the hope of someone reaching out to them. And so I asked this question mainly for insight, so I know where to spend the majority of the time on today. And if it's all of them, it's all of them, right? I'll spread it out equally. But if you were going to choose one that has the biggest impact on you right now, number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, which number would you really want to pinpoint and focus in on and get sorted today? So there's a couple of 4s coming in. Okay, a lot more 4s now really flying through. There's a few 2s that I'm seeing, a few, so 3. I'm not seeing many. There's a couple of, I was about to say, I've not seen many 1s yet. A couple of 1s coming through as well. So it is quite an equal split, but actually with a real strong focus in on that process part, number 4. Now, the good news is that I am, like I say, covering all of it today, and I've broken it down into three sections. Section one is all about strategy. So it's about understanding what gaps you may have. Then I'm going to go into the social media stuff. So the LinkedIn and the AI stuff. I've got quite a lot of detail in the social media section of things that are happening and things that you need to be taking advantage of, as well as the basics and the fundamentals. Out of curiosity, who here is currently using LinkedIn to try and generate business or generate sales? Just give me a yes in the chat if you are. If you're not yet, just put no in there for me so I can kind of see the split. It looks like the majority are, to be fair, looking at it. So a little bit of lightweight. Now, for those of you that aren't, I'm not saying that LinkedIn is 100% the platform for you. You may believe it is. And I'm going to be sharing with you today ways for you to be able to figure out if it is or it isn't. And then the third section today isn't the one that I'm going to spend the most time on, purely because I know you're really here for the LinkedIn stuff, right? And the AI stuff. So I'm going to try and focus a lot of attention there after strategy. And I'm going to be touching on sales in terms of some mindset and some conversion stuff that you can focus in on, which is going to turn that activity into money, right? That's the process that we're going through today. I'm hoping that's what you were expecting, because otherwise, I'm just going to tell you now, you're probably in the wrong place. And as you know, for those of you that mentioned that this is your second, third, fourth, fifth session of mine, you can probably vouch for me here. I mean, if you could actually vouch for me here, I don't spend very much time talking about myself in these, do I? Just put a yes if I don't spend much time, just for the new people here. I don't. And what I'm going to be sharing with you today is a lot of evidence and a lot of tactics that we have been testing with ourselves and also with our customers to really showcase what works and what doesn't. Because I think you'll probably agree with me, social media right now, especially LinkedIn at this current point in time, is full of contradicting advice. You should be doing X, you should be doing Y. One person saying you to do one thing, the other person disagreeing with it and telling you to do another. I did a post on this only the other day. And the big thing that came off the back of it, for those of you that don't follow me right now, I'm going to give you a chance to actually, if you scan that QR code, it will take you to my profile. Come and drop me a connection. Let me know. Send me the word workshop. And I'll give you a little bit of a gift if you do. Anybody that's here right now, if you send me the word workshop on my LinkedIn profile, so scan that QR code, go to my LinkedIn profile, send me the word workshop, and I will put you into a prize draw. I do 5 of these every webinar that I do. And I'm doing a full profile review. So I'll look at your profile, tell you what's good, what's not. And I can only do 5 of them, but I'll pick 5 of you that send me that. There's over, how many people are here today? 147 of you currently online. And I'll pick 5 of you where I'll give you a review. But I'm seeing lots of conflicting advice out there. And advice that I spoke about on this post was stuff that just hadn't been tested. And you may see this time and time again, but people that focus in on social media regurgitate advice without actually testing it themselves first. And that is the biggest gap that I saw in this social media marketing space 4.5 years ago. People following advice from Gary Vee, most recently Alex Hormozi, right? 2 experts in the space, but are giving advice out there that people are regurgitating without understanding the context that's required to get things to work. And so what we did, me and my business partner, Nick, and also our small team behind the scenes, is take the advice, put it to the test, add in the context, and then we share our results. And today's workshop is just one piece of evidence around that. And before I get into the nitty-gritty of the content, there are some things that we really need to realize. There's 2 things specifically. And I don't care what position you're currently at. These things will help you get the most out of this workshop. And the first thing, thinking back to that advice that a Gary Vaynerchuk or an Alex Hormozi, has anyone heard those names before? Just give me a yes in the chat if you've heard those names before. They're 2 marketing influencers. Some of you might not, which is totally fine. But the advice that they give is quite generic, useful, but quite generic. And therefore, people are applying it no matter what phase of business they're in and not getting the results that they expected, and therefore feel disappointed, deflated, and that they're just not good enough. This is the biggest issue that I'm finding, because it doesn't matter what the advice is. If it doesn't apply to your business, to your industry, to your phase, which I'm going to be covering in a second, If it doesn't cover that, then the advice doesn't give you the practical steps and what to look out for to give you the success that you're after. And we break down like business into three phases with the people that we work with. The first type of, or what should I say, first group of people are the ones that are just starting. So you've got you're looking to make your first sale. You may be making on average 1 to 2 to 3 grand a month. And with that, you may have the odd month that goes to 5 or 7, but it's not consistent. The second phase moves you into the building phase. So it's like, you know what, you can almost guarantee that you're going to get a minimum of 3 grand and you're going to keep growing it up to that 20 grand a month mark. When you get to that 20 grand a month mark, you move into what you call scaling phase, which not everybody wants to get to. A lot of people that we work with are very happy in that building phase and they just look to systemize and automate it. But lots of educators and agencies on social teach a one-size-fits-all approach. And that's not what you're going to get on today's workshop. I'm going to try and split it up and help you, like really focusing in on your business and what it is that you're doing. And I'm also going to be offering you the chance to speak with me on a one-to-one basis where we'll talk about your strategy, where I can give you even more in-depth advice and direction. Because success on social is never linear and also requires a lot of testing, adaptation, and looking for ways to improve. Some of our customers are actually on here today. Sarah McCracken, I've seen that you're on here. You'll probably agree with me here. It needs testing. You need to look at the activity, work out what plan is right for you, and then you need to keep testing over and over, looking for ways to improve on it. And the phase that you're in, the industry you're in, the service, the product that you're selling, plus also your own strengths and resources, i.e., some of you may be great writers. Some of you might be like me and are terrible writers, but prefer video. I used to hate video. I've now improved the skill and now I don't mind it because I find it easier. But depending on those like boxes, like where you're currently positioned, like this is why people struggle so much when it comes to social media strategy, because there's so many variables that dictate what you should be doing. And in today's session, I'm not going to be talking to you about the scaling part because the real title of today's workshop focuses in on those kind of two bottom layers there, like the starting phase and the building phase. So I'm going to be talking to you about how you get going and then how you slowly start to grow it. Notice the word slowly there. I don't believe that fast growth is sustainable, especially in today's markets. If it is, you've got to have a lot of resource behind you. So the way that we look at it is get people moving and then slowly start to grow it in a sustainable way, in a controlled way that allows you to consistently deliver. I'm going to be sharing with you today some things that you need to look at, some things that you need to avoid, the areas which are going to have the most impact on you right now, and then the journey that you need to go on to get there. And it all starts with this word strategy, right? So this is how we identify the process that's going to get you to your desired objectives. And one of the biggest things that I see day to day, and you may agree with me, you may disagree with me, either way, it's totally fine, but it's the fact that strategy is a word that's thrown around a lot. But when you ask people for their definition or for their example, it seems to be misunderstood. And it doesn't seem to matter if you're a startup, a global brand, or whatever size company you are, or whatever role that you're in, the plans that we see in place very rarely connect. And the small businesses I speak to are spending quite a lot of time like trying to get things working. Can I get a yes or a thumbs up in the chat if you're currently spending 1 to 2 hours a week as a minimum on your social media activity right now? Can I get a yes and a no if you're not? Totally fine if you're not as well. But what I'm trying to demonstrate here is there are lots of people that are trying, but don't quite know how to guarantee that they're going to hit their targets each year. And LinkedIn is a tool, right? It's something that you use. It's a thing that you, when you use correctly, can be extremely valuable. And in even just the last couple of weeks, because I've been spending a lot of time speaking to businesses recently, like I've really realized that people aren't aware that process is the big thing that lots of people are missing. And it's the thing that's holding them back. They don't know what to track. They don't know what to measure. They don't know where their time needs to go. They don't know what's going to have the biggest impact. And what I want you to realize today is that there is a process to getting LinkedIn and also any other of your social media platforms working for you. And it isn't actually that difficult. You'll notice the stuff that I'm going to be talking to you about today isn't rocket science, but it does require you to take a step back first. And so what I'm going to do, this is a new thing that I'm trying. I normally just get you to use the chat box, but I've actually created a poll today, and I'm going to launch the poll. And what I want to try and see here is like the different types of people that we've got. So if that poll has popped up on your screen, I'm hoping it has, you should have the ability to be able to answer 3 questions. One is what it is that you do. So some of you will be business owners, some of you will be in marketing, some of you will be in sales. Some of you then will have a small company and you're just getting going. So again, the 0 to 30K a year. And some of you will have targets that are slightly bigger. And with it, what I want to show you is the range of businesses that you can get in contact with when you understand how to use these social media platforms. Because I don't know if there's anyone on here that's met me before, but if you have met me before, put yes in the chat. I haven't seen any names of people that I know apart from my business partner that I know is watching right now. Sarah, we've met because we joined like you're part of our group, right? But with this, like very few people have come to this just because they know who I am. Most people have come to this because they've seen what I'm doing on social. We've not met in real life. And this is where the power of this really is. And as we look at the results of this, not everybody is voted, which is totally fine, but we've had over 90 of you now. If we look at this, we've got 28 people that are in sales. We've got 7 people that are in marketing, 46 business owners and entrepreneurs, and 10 of you that are doing something else. When we look at the numbers for targets this year, we've got 18% of you that are in 0 to 30K a year as a target. The majority of you are in that 30 to 250K, which is great. 13% of you are slightly bigger, and then we start to go bigger and bigger as we go. Now, the biggest thing here is that last question, right? I'm going to end the poll there. But the last thing there, so you can see it, that step-by-step plan, 73% of you have said that you don't have that plan in place. And this is the thing that I've noticed. You can see on the right-hand side there, like the calls that I did, this was only like last week. But speaking to people, the biggest thing that people miss is the process that leads a random stranger that you could connect with on LinkedIn to being a customer of yours. And what people, again, don't realize is that there are metrics and stats and targets that you can hit at each stage along that process. So you understand that your activity is actually going to give you a result. And so as we progress through, the reality is that every business and every role, so even if you're in sales right now or marketing, you need to be putting on your hats and going, right, what is our approach? What is our strategy? Because if you're anything like me when I first started, and I'm going to talk to you about like it was when I was an employee here, like I was in sales and nobody knew who I was. I had to build up my reputation. I had to get in the car and go to different networking meetings. And the same was when I went and started my first company. So on the right-hand side there, that was a photo that I found on a Birmingham Progressive Property Network site. And it was my first ever networking event. And that was what I started off doing. And so with it, like I was told, Gary Vaynerchuk watched a video and it was just document everything, right? Just post content, document everything. I don't know if anyone else has heard that sort of advice before, but document your life and eventually business will come. That was the advice that I only heard and therefore took it very literally and documented. But the reality was I relied heavily on people meeting me in these rooms and then referring me. And what I noticed as I then started to grow, so this was initially a property business, but now we move through and I leave the property business and I start my own social media consultancy. I started to help other people doing this stuff. And I started just teaching them what I was doing. And as I started to do more and more content, the problem was that it wasn't scalable because there was only a certain amount of time. There was only a certain amount of things I could say. And the algorithms, I don't know if has anyone noticed the LinkedIn platform engagement has dropped recently? Just give me a yes in the chat if you've seen that. I've seen it like quite heavily on my own content. And it is one of the most frustrating things in the world. But what it helped me realize, because even back then, there were a lot of changes going on, right? But I knew that content and just doing more of it wasn't scalable. And this was where I started to seek out and found my first business mentor, who actually is now my business partner. But I remember sitting there speaking to him at a random event that I went to, and we were talking to each other about marketing and sales and strategy and direction. And I remember him sitting there with his notepad in front of him. And this is we still do this exercise with every customer we work with now. But it's like, look, no matter what your target is, all of you have just put your targets on there, right? There is a specific plan, depending on your industry and your sector, your product and your service, that will get you to 100K a year, 500K a year, million a year, 10 million a year, 50 million a year, 100 million a year. There is a certain plan and process that will allow you to get there. And there is always a way to get there if you want to. The only things that differ, and this is where he drew them out on a bit of paper in front of me and went, how much effort are you willing to put in? How many, like, what's your available resources? Have you got funding, or are you doing this, or are you bootstrapping it, doing it organically? And how long do you have to be able to get there? Like, we plan all of these things out, and then that determines the approach that we take. And we now break this down a lot inside of rooms, inside of our mastermind, or online like this, what I'm talking about now. People just think that this social media approach to get to a revenue target is just about activity. It isn't, because actually, when you break down what there is to do, it can be quite overwhelming because there's so much that you could do. But how do you identify what's going to have the biggest impact and what's going to make the biggest difference? And like I mentioned multiple times throughout this, like I personally, the same with Nick, we speak with companies every single day. It's something that we love to do. We're in very fortunate positions now. And it doesn't matter how big or small, whether someone's just starting or they've been going for 20 years. There is a way to be able to look at their strategy and go, you could get there faster by spending less money and putting in less effort if you did X, Y, and Z. But it's just understanding what those things are in the first place. But the difficult thing is, and before I go into the LinkedIn stuff, I need you to pay attention to this stuff. Like, the biggest thing is trying to work out where your attention goes. And you don't need to make me aware of this in the chat whatsoever, but I'm assuming lots of you do agree that actually it can be quite confusing. Because again, there is so much that you can do, like I mentioned before. But the reality is not everything is going to work for you, which is what makes this even more confusing. And so, like, if you're someone that's just in the starting phase and you're not making 30 grand a year, or if you're in a sales position right now and you're not generating any results from LinkedIn, or if you're in marketing right now and you can't get your business page performing, there are specific steps that you can take that's going to give you that momentum. The same thing with the building phase, which we label as at like 30K a year to 250K a year, but the steps are totally different. And then when you get to the further level, which is 250K a year above, again, different steps that you can take, different systems that you can use, because guess what? You've got different amounts of time, different amounts of effort that's required, and different amounts of resources that you can apply. And each of these phases requires slightly different things. And now what I'm going to be taking you through is how you move this from bottom to top. Now, before I share this, I need to give you a bit of a warning that this process I'm about to share is something that you build towards. This is something that we actively look to build over a 3 to 4 week period, and it isn't to overwhelm you. So this process, this is a webinar campaign that I'm about to share with you. Who would like to see the breakdown of it, like the diagram of how a webinar campaign or a LinkedIn campaign works? Because like this stuff, I need you again. If you say yes, it means that I know you're not going to get overwhelmed, right? That's the one thing. Like if you say yes, I know I'm okay and I can do it. So there are a few of you that have said it, which is great. So the first bit we're going to start with is the bit that we start with every single person that we ever speak to. And again, I'm going to be giving you the chance to book in a call with me very shortly. But with this, we start with understanding who your target market is. We then look at the offer that you're trying to put in front of them and the message that then connects them together. Because whenever you're looking at a marketing campaign, whenever you're looking, whether this is a webinar one like I'm about to share with you now, or it is just I want to book sales calls campaign, or if it is a demo campaign, or if it's a scorecard, whatever it is, your audience may need to slightly change. Because guess what? You try to target founders of Fortune 500 companies, they're probably not going to attend a webinar. So your campaign needs to change, or your audience needs to change, or you're often, so there's different variables. Does that make sense? Can I just get, is everyone with me so far? Makes sense, because depending on your approach will determine who you go after. Thank you, good to hear. So audience, offer, and message. You got to get them clear, and they have to be aligned. If they're not aligned, and if you need a copy of the graphic, just send me a message on LinkedIn afterwards with the word graphic, and I'll send you this graphic over in full detail so you can see it. I know it's a bit small, but you'll notice why, because it's quite long. And so to be able to get it on one slide, I had to kind of shrink it. But you've got audience, offer, and message. You've got to get that bit right before you move to the LinkedIn bit, okay? So the LinkedIn bit is getting your profile sorted. You then build your network up. You then begin direct messaging, and then you look at different elements of content to start showcasing who you are and what you're doing. For anyone that wants the graphic, drop me a message on LinkedIn with the word graphic, and one of my team will send it to you, because the chat box is going to get buried. So you move into connection, right? So this is about building the right audience. It's about go out there and being proactive and getting those people into your network, okay? We then, most important part, is then move people off of social media. So who here right now has an email list? Again, if you're someone who's working for a company right now, I know this isn't 100% relevant for you, but it will come in. But who here currently has an email list? So lots of you, there's a few of you that don't, lots of people that do. Your email list, and the reason why I talk about them so much is because when you rely on social media algorithms to generate business, you're relying on something else putting out your content to people that you want it to go in front of. And so therefore you have zero control of it. What we need to do, and this is the first mindset shift that we need to have, is take people on the LinkedIn platform, connect with them, yes, get content out there, but we need to move them off the platform to a place where we can put our best content in front of them. So you can do that by giving away something. It's called, some people call it a lead magnet, some people call it a free resource, whatever. But it's something in which you give something away in exchange for their email address. So this webinar here, you had to give us your email address to be able to register and then to attend for it. So the workshop actually, although it is a conversion piece as well, it acts as a lead magnet. People then go to the email list, and then from there, they will then start to see other promotional material from us. Now, out of curiosity, who showed up here today because they received a reminder email, or they received just a generic email from my database sending it out promoting this, just so people can see it? Lots of people are sending it to me only so you can see it. But you can see here, now everyone's sending it to everyone, which is great. Can you see the sheer amount of people? We've got 130 odd of you here, right? Like with this, like 80% typically shows up because of an email. And that's just on one campaign type. When you start to take control, you can then create a conversion mechanism. And conversion is just something where you've earned the right to be able to position your services. Top tip here, do not go promoting and selling your services on platforms like LinkedIn in your content. It is the shortcut to failure. Move them off the platform and earn the right to sell to them. Again, whether that's via discovery calls, conversion conversations, demos, webinars, value add to sending proposals, like whatever you're looking to do where you can showcase how great you are, do it off the platform. Get the data, move it off the platform, and do it a place where you've got control, and you can then see who is looking and consuming your information. That conversion vehicle then drives people to either book a call in with you, or whether it's to buy from you, or to a point where you can send them a proposal. The difference when you get a strategy in place that you know is going to work is literally game changing. And I don't really know what it is that you guys do, right? They're in multiple different businesses. I mean, out of curiosity, share it with everyone so people can see what it is that you do. Like what business do you have? What role do you play? Like, are you a consultant? If so, what do you consult in? Like, throw it into the chat box so people can see who you are and what you do. Right, so we've got a variety of different businesses that are now going to go in there, which you'll see, from lawyers, solicitors, educators, professional services providers, internal communications, supply chain recruit. Like there is so many, and therefore you all are going to need a slightly different strategy to be able to get it to work. And Jess Presslin, when she decided to work with us, chose a webinar campaign, and she was selling into larger based businesses and secured herself that 20 grand contract from a webinar. She went through, built out the process, something that you can all do. Piers Courage Jones ran a value add into a demo. So he does like personality profiling. And again, here, 1,250 assessments going through that process that brought in 475 grand. Like huge deals being done. Sarah Jones with this, again, is a leadership and executive coach. Like she really drives people forward in what she does. She's a consultant. And just via the direct messaging into call booking process, got those 12 calls ended up being 28 calls in a week that she got booked. Odile Remmert booked another webinar in. Peter Elgar had conversations that, again, $300,000 when he was starting to give up. Michelle Rollinson, menopause workshops for businesses. Amazing. So there's so many different approaches. But the biggest thing that all of these people had in common, and it's what I see speaking to so many different people, is that the majority have a scattergun approach. So they try this, they try that, throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. It doesn't work. Don't really know what to do. Let's try something else. And what we did is like we have a £250 a month program that's like one-to-one support, right? And the first thing is going through that strategy and working out, okay, what's going to be best for your industry, for your service, for your offer, and also for the audience that you've got right now. And we then draw it out. And this is the thing that we need to work through, because here is a checklist, which I'm going to be going through in more detail for you. But like when you're starting out, it's sometimes difficult to see these things. But with LinkedIn, if you want just the basic fundamentals, which again, I'm going to go into more detail on, you need a profile that defines what you do and how people can work with you. You can see my example here. I'm going to be going through profiles in a second. You also need an offer that's communicated in a way that your ideal clients are going to understand and want. So again, you need to make sure that what you're selling is being understood. You then need a marketing and sales process. That's one of 10 that we can share with you that turns your activity into revenue. So there's different data points along this process that you need to hit for your campaign to work. We then have a process that's going to allow you to build your network with people that are active on the platform and interested. You need to be building your network. You then need to make sure you're collecting data, making sure that you've got a system that tracks your metrics at each stage. Get your content out there, which I'm going to be sharing with you, the volume and how much you should be on there. And then a business model also, this is a big one, that allows you to scale without getting stuck. Because some of you may be feeling that like you are spending lots of time delivering for clients right now. Selling time for money is kind of like the phrase that's used. And it's not that it's a problem, but when you start building a marketing engine like this, you could really do with looking at a business model that's going to allow you to be able to help more people if you want to, because this sort of model can turn volume up, but it can also turn quality up. And so what we don't want you to do is get so busy that you get stuck. And so having that alternative model over time that you build can be really helpful. And so like, this is a big question at this point, because I've not even touched on the LinkedIn stuff, right? But it's a mindset piece. Who here believes that, yes, they need to do the LinkedIn stuff, but they probably need to do a bit of work on their marketing and sales strategy as well, looking at that process and how they're going to take people on? I'm glad lots of people are feeling like it, because even I, at this stage, still need to be continuously working on this. And today, and this is even before I've gone into the LinkedIn stuff, right? I'm going to be opening up my diary to give you 30 minutes of my time where I'm going to review your current approach. I'm going to look at what you're doing. I'm going to get you to share with me what you're doing. You'll notice the questions ask you certain things so I can really pinpoint the areas, and also the targets that you may have set, or if you don't have them set, like how we can go about creating realistic ones. We'll then list out the sort of changes that you need to make. So that's going to allow you to get to that objective, the certain things and gaps that you've got and the activity that you need to do to be able to get there. I'm then going to talk you through, like realistically again, the resources and the effort levels required, along with the time frame to be able to get you to that position that you want to. Last year, I literally spent like half my working weeks like on these calls helping people. But due to time, for those of you that have like been on my workshops for a little while now and been here before, I opened it up last time, but that was the first time I'd opened it up in about 3 to 4 months. And with it, I've got a couple of days. I've got today, tomorrow, and then there's a few next week that I'm going to be opening up to give you a chance to be able to speak with me. And on those calls, we'll go through your strategy. So what I'm going to do, the QR code is there for you to scan and to book a call in. Please make sure that you answer the questions. I know some of you like jump ahead of the gun and get things like and try to speed things out. I know you probably need to go quickly. However, like try to give me a bit of detail or at least email me afterwards to be able to like give me the information that I need to be able to help you. Because those calls, I don't want them just to be me to get to know you. That's not what I want them to be. I want us to talk through what it is that you're really doing. And so with this, no problem at all, Gail. I'm sure the LinkedIn content as you come through will be something that ticks your box. But to begin with, this is all about strategy and getting it right. From here, you've got that, and you can book those calls in. The QR code is going to be in the top right-hand corner for you to scale. But now we move into the LinkedIn section, okay? So with it, what I need you to think about here is like the real simple parts of LinkedIn first, and then I'm going to be taking you through how you speed things up. So first of all, I know some of you are filling out your form, which is totally fine, but has that first section been helpful? I know Gail didn't find it particularly helpful, which is totally fine because it's not for everyone. But the mindset piece, the strategy piece, is it giving you some insight and something to think about before we even start on the LinkedIn stuff? I'm hoping it has, because it is one of the most important parts. Good, amazing stuff. Makes me feel a little bit better about myself after that comment. So the first thing is these algorithms are always changing. So never try to win them. Just keep trying to show up in them. Your engagement is going to drop. Okay, it is going to drop because these platforms are getting busier. There's more content going on them. So it's going to get harder to get the engagement. But that doesn't mean we need to give up hope. What we need to make sure that we're doing is building up our networks and then understanding how to actually talk to people. People, for me, have got the wrong mindset, and I'm going to change this for you right now, is making sure that you test these approaches and get them working for you first. So I'm not going to talk to you about those. On the replay of this, you'll be able to get a screenshot of those processes here. But on those strategy calls, on that 30-minute session, this is the sort of stuff that we do. We look at kind of like what you're doing. The green boxes are what you've got going on. The orange is where the immediate priorities are, and we highlight them. But your activity checklist here, we're going to start with your profile. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the fundamentals of getting your profile sorted. I don't know if any of you know, but if you get your LinkedIn profile right, when people start searching for the things that you do, you can actually rank on Google. But I need you to think about your profiles in a really simplistic way. So optimizing your profile starts with your headline, your header image, and your profile photo. And I know like this is the basic stuff. It's going to start basic and get more advanced. But you need to make sure that it's really, really clear what it is that you're doing and how and why someone should follow you. So with it here, I've just got co-founder at the business that we work as part of, helping brands build marketing and sales strategies that work. Clear, concise, no waffle, very, very simple. The header image, to be fair, mine could do some work. Like it's not the most attractive in the world, but I like simplicity. I want to try and get people going to socialselling.co.uk as much as I possibly can, right? That's the only reason. I want people to see, because it's such a strong domain name, and with it, we've been working hard on getting it right. Socialselling.co.uk is the thing that I want everybody to see. And so I'm trying to drive people there. My question to you is, if you don't know what your header image needs to be and where you're driving people, that's the first thing to think about. Profile photo, please just make it a clear headshot. Keep it really simple. We then have your featured section. So your featured section, if everybody remembers us take like the control part of the process that I shared with you, your featured section should be filled with, it doesn't matter if you're in sales, marketing, or a business owner, or in another role altogether, your featured section is your way to be able to take people to your most valuable content. Bearing in mind, this platform isn't going to share your content, your best content to everybody. Your featured section is a way to be able to highlight that. So in your profile, you can click the edit button and you can add things into your featured section. Please do not miss this. It's a really important part. You can see I promote the webinars that we do, the newsletter that I have, and also the complete guide to social selling, which is a free resource that people can download. Like that adds, just having that featured section there, adds between 30 to 40 people to our list per week. Like it is just so easy that when you start to post content, people are going to view your profile. When they view your profile, they want to go somewhere, right? And the one place that they always go typically is back to the newsfeed. If you can grab their attention, you can start to actually capture their information and begin your nurturing process. It's just a free opportunity to take control. You then have your services and about section. So you can see here, if you need any help with your about section, literally just copy and paste mine and just put your own words in. Like, people overcomplicate this stuff. You'll see all I want for people to understand is from my about section is what we do and how it works. And in the services, the most core services that we offer: social media marketing, marketing consulting. People on your services section, I received one today, can then request work for, like, that you then can bid for. So we had one today from a company in Malaysia that wants us to help them. They're a hypnotherapy clinic, and they want us to help 10 to 50 of their employees with their social media marketing strategy. That's a proposal that's just come from having that on my services part of my page and driving enough profile traffic. Your experience section, I've not got covered on here, but your recommendations and experience, just make sure they're up to date. This should take you no longer than half an hour. Right? With ChatGPT now, you could put like my profile in, and ask it to rewrite it with you in mind, with a few things about you, and I'm sure it will do a pretty good job. Just then go in, check it, and proofread it, and then put it in. Really easy. Recommendations are a really underrated part of this process, actually. So with the recommendations, if anyone you've worked with in the past and they've been like a good customer of yours, like, go and ask them to leave a recommendation on your profile, because people look at this stuff. People will go and check out the 47 that I've received. That should be so much higher. Worked with over 1,000 different businesses. I've only got 47 recommendations. Like, I'm telling you here, I'm not perfect. But what I'm trying to showcase to you are areas where you can grab opportunity. And whether it's Giuseppe or Craig there are fantastic reviews that I want to make sure that are on my profile so people can see them. But before you again start posting content, start building your network, just take half an hour to get your profile looking like tidier and slick. And like I said, for those of you that message me the word workshop, I'm going to be picking 5 of you to be able to do a profile review for. We move from profile to posting here, and the Q&A section I am going to be going through for you. The workshop, Brianna, if you just drop me a message on LinkedIn, just type in Chris Taylor social selling and I'll come up. Drop me a message on LinkedIn with the word workshop. Don't apologize. It's totally fine, because you might have missed it at the beginning. But I'm grabbing everyone that messages me and I'm putting them into a prize draw. But posting, people say you need to post every day. Like, I used to give this advice, but that was when content really had a strong presence. Now your time is better spent elsewhere. So 3 times a week is enough to really get your profile moving in the right direction. What I don't want people to do is burn themselves out thinking about high value education, in-depth content. What I want you to do instead is follow and just go look at my profile. Again, an easy way of really figuring out what works and what doesn't is just looking at the sort of content that generates the highest level of engagement on people's profiles. Also, going out there, and if you see a piece that on a profile is outperformed, so if you see a high-performing piece of content that's got lots of comments and lots of engagement, click into the profile and see if that is their average amount of reactions and comments, or whether it's a one-off. If it's a one-off, typically, that means that it's a topic that people have got an opinion about. And you can reshare that and talk about that in a way, in your own words and with your own point of view. But you'll look at this stuff. None of it is in-depth educational content here. What I'm trying to do is share types of content which is going to grab attention, stop people in their scroll, and then get talking to me in the comment section. I use my content to start conversations, whether it's in comments or whether it's in direct messages. And Vivian, yes, there will be a recording that's done. It should be released within the next couple of days. But when you start doing this in a way that's going to start conversations, you'll see the results that Philippa got. So increased following from 7,000 to 7,600 in 5 days, 32 messages of people wanting to work with her from one piece of content that reached 458,000 people. That was talking about ADHD in the recruitment space, right? So again, a popular topic that went that went viral. That's my classification of viral, and ended up getting a good result. But it was because people were conversing in the comment section, something that lots of people miss. And again, there's another example here, 880 followers. This is actually my fiance, Zoe, when she was really active on LinkedIn. 880 followers Zoe had. She was able to reach 133,000 about from a post that she was doing for the charity that we work with. 133,000 impressions with it. And yes, it's a photo with a dog on it. It's always going to do it. But look at Zoe's profile, right? To create dog-focused holiday lets. It was linked. She found something that people were going to support, people were going to cheer on, people were going to share. And with it, when you're clever with this, you don't need to be posting every single day, 3 times a week, and you start to get the messages that you're looking for. But it is all based on content starting conversations. And so if you're just posting educational content that's great to read, if it doesn't cause people to comment, it's not going to get the traction that you want. And when you're looking at the building process, so you move from just starting and you want to move to that building process, you'll realize that your LinkedIn content is only part of the content that you need to create. And this is where it gets overwhelming because you can end up just becoming a glorified marketing agency if you're not careful. Does anyone ever think that, by the way? Anyone ever agree? The amount there is to do from a marketing point of view, you may as well be a marketing agency. There is that much that you need to tick on. Like this stuff, I know firsthand how much time it can seem to take. And so with it, you can use tools like Prosperity and ChatGPT to be able to shortcut and to be able to speed things up. However, there's a big caveat with this. Please do not just copy and paste what ChatGPT says. Instead, use it to craft content ideas, give you the inspiration, maybe help it to draft lead magnets and newsletters, give you, again, that little bit of spark of creativity. I don't know if you're like me, but when I see something that I disagree with, I find it easier to then write. And so I use it sometimes just to trigger me to be able to get that creativity going because I need emotion when I'm creating. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. And so going on to ChatGPT, you can see just a simple prompt there. You get a high-performing piece of content and you ask it, can you rewrite this post using a similar format, but instead of being VP in sales, switch up the content so it relates to a founder of a rent-to-rent property business. That then took 4 or 5 different additional prompts, right? To be able to get it to a point where it was in that customer's point of view and also written in a way that's going to drive conversation because it doesn't just do it on its own. You have to learn how to use them properly. It's one of the things that we teach in quite a lot of detail at the moment because so many people are asking for it. But this shortcuts and saves you so much time. I don't know if we've got any ChatGPT users on here right now or any other AI content creation tools. But when used in the right way, they're extremely powerful. But please don't fall into the foul of not editing them, right? If you've got a capital letter at in like the first line of your post, if you've got the M dash in there, like they are such signs that people are using these tools and not checking them. So please be careful, use them to support, as Carly's just said there. Don't use them to write and become you. We then have network building and direct messaging. The most important part of this process, so you can take control. Perplexity, I use like a member of staff, amazing, love that. We then have engagement. So engaging on the newsfeed. Here's a big thing. Don't spend more than 5 minutes a day engaging on the newsfeed because, again, there's more important things that you can be doing. If you have everything else working for you in your process and you're hitting your targets and you're hitting your metrics, from there, you can start to engage. But if you're struggling right now, like, again, I don't know how many of those calls that are left, but if you're not understanding like where your time should be going, just book one of those calls in. Because you can then take all of that activity and you can automate it. So you can use a platform. I've tested so many automation platforms. Some are terrible, some are great. I use Meet Alfred because it saves me time and it doesn't harm the engagement on my profile. But I use it to build my audience by 100 people per week. And with that, 50% of those people accept. So you can see here, this one sent out 654 or 761 likes. It did 745 invitations, 369 connections, and therefore 369 messages were sent. So again, a first message gets sent out to them. And with it, it's not a message like this. Like, I wanted to check if you might need expert assistance. Nothing like that. What it actually is a value-driven message, which takes people on a journey. So again, here you can see Lisa, appreciate the links and refreshing, like slightly less salesy approach. When you do direct messaging properly, you don't just collect email addresses, but you can also drive conversations. right? So you can see here what Stephen said. I don't normally reply to messages, but you're right. I like your opening sentence, so I am. Not looking for the guides at the moment. So he's being polite, doesn't need them, but perhaps in the future, who knows? And again, with it here, another one. Great message, massively lack of return, over 1 million impressions over the last 12 months and not one new customer. That then goes on into further conversations, right? So all of this stuff can be automated, and then you have to take control of it to nurture it. But whether it's email automation, call bookings, evergreen webinars, audience nurturing, sales, whatever, the moment you realize that you can automate this stuff is the moment you can start to move into that building phase by compounding your marketing activity. Who here believes that actually, if they got their marketing compounding, working together, they would get better results, right? Who would get it? Who would see better results if they could get it through? Someone's just put there, I saw it, and then it disappeared. I mean, it needs to be authentic. When you see that message, it is authentic, like, because it is something that I would say. I am looking to add value. Whether they download it or not, genuinely, it's up to them. I don't want a response from them because I know they're busy. I call that out in the message. And if they then do respond, great. If they don't, it's not a problem because it's not for everyone. And so the biggest thing, again, is being conversational with the way that you work. And the system that we have built in the background for all of our members helps track all of this. And so with it, you've got to break it down properly. And when you do, like Matt worked with my business partner, Sam, at the time, and worked through this LinkedIn process. And you can see it doesn't even have to be that exciting. 30,000 followers Matt's got, and he's in industrial equipment refurbishment, repair and supply. 127,000 views that he generated from his content. 8,000 profile views that he was able to get, sharing the right conversational content. And with it, 18 new customers in a month. Just so you can see that, taking on 18 new customers in a month. Like, when you understand your social media activity, get your profile right, start building your network. If you've not got these written down by now, write them down. Start building your network. Posting the sort of content that I've shared with you 3 days a week. I'm sorry that I can't go into in even more detail. Like, you can see the time, it's already 5:02, right? Like, it's madness. But moving into that sales part, and again, you can watch the replay and slow me down if you like, but you need to realize that selling on these things isn't the answer. You should not be selling on social media. You should be looking to grab the connections that moves them off it, because people are not on social media to buy things. Most are struggling because they're trying to do it too much or not doing it at all. And so this marketing and sales process that you build, that strategy that you can go on to build, allows it to become a lot easier. And that was the thing. You can see Nick in the photo there, and also mentoring at our mastermind there. Nick has built many a business in his time, and he now invests and mentors with us. So he works like hand in hand, day to day, working with us, because this social marketing space actually is one that needs to be shaken up a bit, because people are charging thousands and thousands of pounds for information that, for me, I just totally disagree with. And so we use our social media profiles to showcase what we do, share our views on the world, and look to drive enough of the right people through to our email list or through to a conversation where we can then build rapport and identify any opportunities. The way that we do that is through direct messaging. And so direct messaging is the thing that you need to make sure that you get as part of your process if you want to win on a platform like LinkedIn. And these questions you can take a screenshot of or a photo of, right? How often are you talking to people that you believe are your dream customers? How many calls do you need to have with those people to hit your target each month? Are you then proactively working towards hitting that goal every day? Or are you sitting there waiting for things to happen? Some feel really uncomfortable like with this approach, but like on that strategy call that I'm offering out there, we go through this stuff. And I can't offer more time here, right? I can't give you more than like that 30 minutes. And I'm literally throwing as much time with you as I can to be able to give you it. And this session is about giving you insight into what you can do. And on that strategy call, like with it, I'm not too sure how many we've got. They might all be gone. I genuinely don't know. But we're going to go through your offer. We're going to go through the targets, the audience, the conversion, and the automation. It is free, right? Like, I'm not charging you for it. I just want to also gain some insight from you. So I am getting something out of it, insight from you. You can ask me any questions that you've got. And there's nothing that you can't ask me in that 30 minutes, caveat, as long as it's business related. And then I will also talk through how we can then work together if you want us to. But that QR code there, and I'll put the link in a second, but If you are someone that wants to work with us on a one-to-one basis, like someone has just asked there, like perfect timing. Like we work with businesses for 12 months, right? That is the minimum that we work with people for. And when you join, we start with a much more in-depth strategy session where we map everything out. We then give you a training program, which leads you on a journey that we support you on. And it takes you through how to make your first sales, how to productize your skills, how to refine your offer and your messaging, how to then build those audiences, whether it's paid or organic. We're going to be training with you on both. And then how we can build up a business, right? And a business model that sells and sustains consistently without you drowning in work. We then speak every month on a one-to-one basis. We speak for 30 minutes to review your progress. People have been crying out for these accountability calls, conversation, having someone at the other end of the call, at the other end of the phone, at the other end of Zoom or Teams to make sure that the work is done, and then talk through strategy, working on any changes that you need to improve your results, right? The Social Selling Pro program is £250 a month, right? That's what we charge. You will send all of your work to us to review it. So you can put over your website, emails, content, landing pages. We need to make sure everything is right for this to work. So we actually take it on ourselves to review it for you and provide you feedback. You then attend group mentoring and workshops. So together we get together as a group, Mondays at 12 p.m., Thursdays at 2 p.m. There's a number of our customers that are actually on watching this now anyway. You also get access to our like presentation templates, sales scripts. Again, like they're more structures than scripts, but they will help shortcut like the creation of the process. And then once you start seeing the wins that you want, so we look for low-hanging fruit first, and then we look for long-term results. We review the process, identify the areas to improve. Me and Nick will sit there and we'll talk you through the different areas where you need to improve, set your new targets, and we go again. It's £250 per month. And with it, you work through, at the end of the 12 months, it becomes a monthly rolling subscription so you can stay a part of it. You can then either decide to graduate out of it, or you can join our next layer up, which is then taking it up through to the like that 250 to 500 grand to £1 million a year, like part of the mentorship that we give. We've worked with over 600 businesses in that program. And the one piece of feedback that we get, I don't know if anyone's still on here, like who's been part of our program, but again, like the levels of support, the accountability that we give, like for this price is unheard of in this space. I told you we were shaking it up. This is how we're shaking it up. And with it, it's not something that you can just join because, again, we spend lots of time talking to each other. So we need to make sure that you like us and we like you. So with it, you're booking a call, and with it, we'll talk about it. But again, we also every quarter meet in person, one-to-one strategy meeting and a mastermind day. I appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you very much. Every quarter we meet in person for a mastermind day. So again, in person, again, people charge thousands of pounds for this. You get it for free as part of this. We spend lots of time talking and basically going through business strategy in there again as well, marketing and sales strategy, updates and what's working and what isn't. And then if you have any questions around this stuff, you can always ask us. So I appreciate that it's not for everyone, but I did want to share this today because it's one thing that, I mean, it's one of my favorite things to talk about. And with it, like, I'm not going to sit here and read testimonials out to you because, again, all of those are on the website. And if you need to speak to people, I've got a list of 50 people that I can give you the links of that you can go and randomly message that aren't prompted, and they'll give you honest feedback around how this works. But my biggest thing is that if you need help, just ask for it because we've been where most people are and we know what works and what doesn't. I'm going to fast forward through all of those. And so with the Q&A, I am 2 minutes over, which is really annoying because I'm late. But with it, I'm going to pop through and I'm going to look at the Q&A. Yes, I will pop the link in, not a problem. All it is the strategy call link that you've already done. So if the calls have gone and there's no available times for you, here's one thing actually. There's one of the questions. If there's no times available for you, just drop me a message with the word call. You will all be receiving a follow-up message anyway from us. But just drop me the message with the word call and I'll find some way of like getting you in. Like I'll try and find a way to be able to book you in for a conversation to have that strategy session with me. So again, thank you. I appreciate that I've ran over, but let's have a look in the Q&A. How are you messaging the LinkedIn audience? That's the first question that came in from Andrew Pritchard. That was at 1,000,000 miles an hour. How are you messaging the LinkedIn audience? So you connect with them and then you just send them a first message. So initially you do it manually. However, then I use a platform like Meet Alfred to be able to automate it so it is done on my behalf. You just set up the campaign. Sarah Rogers asks, feature section, how many can you have? I don't know the limit, actually. Sabina, do you recommend Sales Navigator or a premium LinkedIn membership? No, I don't. I utilize the free trials, but it's not something that we recommend. You can use it if you've got the resources to spend and you're going to use Sales Navigator to list build or premium to search, but there are other ways to get around it. You don't need them. Featured section, how many you have? So yeah, I don't know the maximum, if I'm honest, but I would have a minimum of 5. That's my my recommendation. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jason. You're awesome. Thank you. David, you put the word call in. I'll make a note of that, David, anyway, so I've got it. Problem. Carly, pictures or videos on LinkedIn? The answer you're going to hate, it's both. Because again, you want to really test. If it's a great video, you want it on there. If it's a bad video, you don't want it on there. If it's a great picture, you want it on there. If it's a bad picture, you don't want it on there. So it all depends. Lawrence has said, what about the £50 a month pro? So again, with that all that is just without the one-to-one support. Just so you know, Lawrence. So again, there's 2 different options there. I mean, if you want more information on that one, just drop me a message on LinkedIn and I'll happily send you over more details. Anyone wants more details about anything, just drop me a message. I'm always around. We have a company LinkedIn page, which we use but get a little engagement on. Would you say using personal profiles is the best way to reach people? Yes, I do. There are strategies for business pages, but they rely on being quite funny and humorous. It's the only way I've seen them really work. Otherwise, they would be just typically treated as a website, but without the SEO power. Francis has asked, what is the best way to send a newsletter once you have an email? So the best way is to use a platform like MailChimp, MailerLite that give you free access to begin with for a certain amount of addresses. And then you can send them an email in a mass capacity to those people. And we are building our own version of this currently. It's not live yet, but it will be live soon. And it will be given to every single one of our members, included in their included in their membership. Lou has asked, what are your thoughts on paying for LinkedIn Premium / Sales Navigator? I've just answered that one. So you've answered. Thank you. No problem at all. It's there. Good stuff. Is it best to message through an individual's LinkedIn profile or can you use the company? Definitely the individuals, 100% the individuals, Carol. That, I believe, is all the questions on there. So let me just mark them all as done so I've got them. Has everybody found that useful today that's still here? Can I just get a thumbs up or like a yes or something just before I sign it? So we go, you have amazing stuff. Really, really good to hear. I am going to be running a few of them. Someone's just put, which automation tools do you understand? So Pragati, Meet Alfred is the one that I recommended. But thank you very much, everybody, for the feedback. I appreciate it a lot. For those of you that have booked your calls in, really look forward to speaking to you. For those of you that want to book a call in but don't have the times available, just drop me a message or drop me a response to an email with just saying you want one and I'll find a way of getting you in. Okay, it's 30 minutes. We'll talk through your strategy. Amazing stuff. And I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Have a great day, evening, whenever you're watching this. See you all later. Bye-bye.